Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today we are introducing Capella Columnar. This is a really exciting announcement for us. We've been anticipating this for about a year. And today we're joined by Jeff Morris, who is our Director of Product Marketing, Product and Solutions Marketing. And Jeff, you present a lot on these. You're kind of the glue that holds the marketing team together with the product team. So super knowledgeable about everything that's going on in product, but also super excited to have Amit Saha on today because, important to have those folks who are responsible for building the product, bringing the products to life. So Amit, thanks so much for being here. We are super, super excited to have a conversation with you and with Jeff and to learn a lot more about columnar and JSON analytics. I want to give some housekeeping items. We do have the chat to your right. Please use that. It's great to know who we're talking with today. Know a little bit about you, where you're from. Hopefully, a lot of the issues and some of the things that are going to come up today resonate with you. We would love to know that. Also, in the docs section, we have a couple different things. There is an analytics demonstration. If you want access to that, Amit's going to show that during the presentation as well. But there's a link to today's presentation if you'd like to view that. And also, just a reminder to join us next month. We're going to do a NoSQL showdown, Couchbase versus MongoDB. So that's in October, the 22nd or 23rd, depending on your time zone. And we would love to, again, see you at that webcast. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Jeff and Amit. Thanks both for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Suzanne, so much, and welcome, everybody. This is going to be a fun discussion. Amit, great to see you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Susan, for the opportunity. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, this is so what we're going to end up talking about is we'll do a quick introduction about Capella Columnar and what the intention of it was. I think it's going to be very fun to have Amit here to bounce a bunch of questions off of. Amit, of course, is the product manager in charge of bringing Columnar to market. He's been working on this for, almost 2 years or something like that. It's been quite a long time. We announced Columnar back in November of last year at reInvent, and since that time, it's just been working on getting it out to customers, getting it out to our field organization, and it actually demonstrates, I think, a big shift for us in terms of what kind of focus we're going to end up having in the future. Being an operational NoSQL database for so long, that I think, Amit, this is really kind of monumental for us as we start to enter the analytics side of the DBMS market and continue to see convergence that happens all the time, right? Of I think trying to consolidate data technologies, trying to do more with them, trying to maintain degrees of real timeness in terms of what you can do with calculated metrics. But help me talk a little bit about what were the overall motivations that you were thinking of and we were thinking of as we decided to build out the columnar services.
Sure, absolutely, Jeff. So what we have been hearing from our customers is the pain that they face while trying to analyze a JSON data, which is deeply nested and complex, right? The data team or the data engineering team have to go through multiple tools and steps to flatten that data and then do analytics on that. And sometimes it takes days, if not weeks, because you have to depend on other teams, right? So the motivation was that why can't we bring the flexibility of JSON to the analytical world? Our customers love JSON. They have been using JSON on the OLTP side, right? But when trying to do analytics on that JSON with a relational store, they have been facing these challenges. So the motivation was to bring the idea of JSON, bring the idea of NoSQL to the analytical world, at the same time combining it with the strengths of a relational store like columnar, multi MPP processing, cost-based optimization. And I know you are going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll go through a ton of that, but yeah, I think that's really good insight in terms of addressing that core first problem of JSON is a great application format, but can be very, very messy when you're trying to turn it into analytic data. And of course, we know that the analytic tools, as well as many of the ETL and data pipeline tools and other data warehouses, they think a particular way and they want particular structures to exist. And any messiness in that is very, very difficult to address. The earliest points in my career were in building sales operations reports and pipeline reports was always the first time you showed it to anybody, they picked out a flaw and they said, well, this isn't sorting correctly, or you're missing, you're clearly missing values in the sales pipeline that that should be there. Go back and do it again. And I'm sure you've seen that 1,000 times in your career as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think as we look at like our core sets of goals as we set out here was, one, let's make sure that we make a great user experience for our user constituencies. And remember, we're still coming from the application side or the operational side of the database market. We're still expecting and encouraging use of columnar along with regular Couchbase operational services to do things like predictive analytics in for your application. But I think that's a really good. Good. I'm glad you're popping this up. But already is what are you as a constituency and audience facing particular problems when you're analyzing JSON? And you've got a survey up here. Just pop your answers in here. But we'll continue to talk about this the JSON sets of issues, and we've got some great illustrations of what of what we're going to end up seeing or what customers have been telling us. And it was, I found that it was really interesting, Amit, you were on tour as well. We each went out to customer advisory board meetings in May.
Yes.
I was on in North America, you were in Europe. I think the findings were fairly consistent that JSON is still a difficult format, especially when your operations are generating a lot of it and changing a lot of it. It's still an issue to turn it into analytic structures and use it in analyses.
Yes, I think that's absolutely correct. One of the key insights that came up from our CAB advisory board, customer advisory board meeting was that how do I not break my ingestion pipeline, right? Mm-hmm. So I have lot of JSON and like an OLTP stores, right, connected with my relational store, right? And then anything changes upstream. Someone in the application teams just add one field that breaks my entire ingestion pipeline, right?
Yeah.
So how do I not break the ingestion pipeline is something that came up multiple times. Also, the data itself can be varied. You can have null values, you can have missing values in that JSON document. How do you handle that without automatically, right? Without breaking the pipeline. One more example which came up. How about changing the data type? Like, for example, price can be an integer, price can be a string. As a database admin or someone on the data team, you may not have control how the app teams are writing to that. So we try to look at these problems and then try to solve it in columnar in a way which is automatic. So you as a data person or person of the data engineering team do not have to worry about a null value or missing value or schema evolution when you are doing analytics.
Yeah, and this is going to be fun as we get a little bit deeper into this. We'll talk about how we're doing that and what some of the interesting nuances are here. But so, overall, the core kinds of challenges that we're trying to address here, we're focusing certainly on JSON. You can and that's intentional because JSON is a developer format, not necessarily an analytic format. But we're also trying to address the other kind of obvious things that one would expect out of an analytic system, like supporting multiple data sources and being able to do what we do with JSON with other formats. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The other issue is we know that business intelligence teams, analytic teams are carry a huge backlog. Their queue of work is never ending, whether it's continuing to evolve what exists or make something new. And asking for something new, of course, is always going to be difficult. So it could take a lot of time for those teams to get to a new set of requests. And if you're an application developer, you can't really wait. You want to have, be moving forward on your sprint. You want to be moving forward on the functionality you're trying to deploy. And if it requires large scale analytics, we wanted to give you degrees of independence so that you could do the work yourself. And so I think we'll end up demonstrating that as well, that you can do all of this inside of the Couchbase environment really easily. It uses all the same skills that you already have, whether it's SQL++, you know how to work in JSON, you know how to work in your preferred application languages. And and of course, it also takes advantage of Capella IQ, right? That's our AI-powered coding assistant that knows SQL++, knows your programming language, and knows the kinds of analytic activities that one might be wanting to create. So that's addressing that slow turnaround kind of issue. And the fourth one, this one, Amit, you and I both have long analytic careers prior to joining the operational side of databases. And this was my pet peeve for forever, was it's really difficult to take an analytic insight, quote unquote, and turn it into something, right? We both have used in our careers we operationalize analytics, or we make insights actionable. And really, there's no actionability in this because it always involves a person. Right? There's always an analyst that's got to have the idea and then go tell the developer what to do about it. And and the developer says, well, how the heck do I get that piece of information? And the BI person's like, I don't know. I'm not the programmer. I'm just the analyst who sorts and aggregates things. So that lack of actionability, I think, has always been to me a glaring hole in the work between analytics and operational kinds of data systems. So we fixed that. We solved for that. So let's get into a bunch of the things that we're doing, right? The key thing that using a column store, which is basically state of the art for analytics, you get very fast query speed because you're allowing the system to focus on only what it's what the request is. You don't have to scan through the entire database to find or gather up the data you want to analyze. It's much more narrowed in that regard. We're doing great data compression. We're supporting the modern log structure merge style of database that's very popular. We introduced that with Magma, our key value store, and now with the columnar store. And it does self-indexing. So it'll figure out how to organize itself for the queries you're going to run. And so let's dive in a little bit, Amit, and dig into some of our favorite problems here. So of course we've been harping on the relational rigidity and the challenges with handling JSON data. So we've hit the JSON is hard to parse out, and in many cases one document, even in the same collection, might be different from another document because of how recently it had been modified. That's good for the developer. That's tough work on the BI analyst. So JSON was not really designed for analytics, but now it needs to be analyzed. So getting that match back to either a warehousing system or an analytics store, that's the conundrum. And I think you did, and then of course matching it to what the expectations of the business intelligence tools are is going to be really tough. We need to remember that BI tools, they've been around a really long time. They have certain expectations about what they expect the data to be like. You want to talk a little bit about this rigidity that we're trying to address and work it all the way down to what the analytics themselves ends up turning out as.
Yeah, sure. I think the first thing for columnar to remember for the audience that it's a completely brand new product from Couchbase, right? Built ground up, right? So we do have analytics as a feature in our current OLTP system, but this is a completely built new cloud service that we have built, right? And I see a question on the chat on that. So going back to your previous point, Jeff, I think one key challenge that we see when we have been talking to customers is the relational warehouses or relational analytical stores. They have this rigid schema, right? And the best they have done is they will have a column which will have different data types. So JSON may be one data type. That's how they address JSON data, right?
Yeah.
But JSON is flexible. So our goal with columnar was bring that same flexibility in the JSON side, right? In the analytical side.
Yeah, so I think this is a great illustration of that. Exactly right. Is that structure on the left, the document flexibility in the middle there, and then all of the key kinds of issues that you might run into, whether it's flexing it, changing it, scaling it, and as you said earlier, handling null values, those kind of things. And everybody, I'm jumping around the slide deck just for conversational sake. This is all in your deck. You can download this and review the whole kind of order that we expected to be presenting. But I think having a more free-form conversation just works better for Amit and myself. Amit, let's talk a little bit about the exercise of getting JSON into that columnar format that we're kind of illustrating here.
Correct. So to a user, when you are using columnar, it's JSON in and JSON out, right? So you will only see that. But we are not storing the data in JSON format, right? Because JSON is heavy. And we are storing it in a columnar format that we have developed, right? Because it is binary format, it is easily compressible, and you spend less money on your storage cost, right? The way we have done it is we have used something similar to Parquet format. So it came out of Google in the Dremel paper. We used that concept. But since Parquet has fixed schema, you have to define schema. We could not use Parquet as is, so we have to build extensions and basically store data, JSON data in columnar format, right? Mm-hmm. So just getting into the nitty-gritties, if you look at this slide that Jeff is sharing, we take a JSON document, right? Use something called columnar transformer, and then first infer the schema, right, from that document, and then store those basically schemas and values in different columns as columns. So that's how it happens. So essentially, TLDR summary is we use Parquet-like format, and we convert the JSON data into a columnar format and store it as that format into the disk. In this case, disk is ST. We have a compute and storage architecture. But when you read that data back, we convert it from columnar to JSON. So you always see JSON in and JSON out. But under the hood, we are making sure we use the columnar format, which is one of the most used format in the analytical world, and give you that benefit of both storage cost and improving query speed.
Yeah, the query speed, I think, example is really clear here. I'm going to jump back for a second, but that whole exercise of why did we ever need the column format, right? Is because the column structures is because we didn't want to have to scan every single row of every of every table if we went tabular, or have to scan through every single document for where might a particular field be in a document. So in this case, right, we're taking advantage of what is still like the industry's a state of the art, right? It is kind of the practice of only retrieving the information that we're asking for and only looking in the columns that were actually contain either perhaps the sort mechanism like region, and then whatever its numeric values that you're trying to aggregate are, just fetching those. And it's a much, much faster exercise, right? This is, again, proven out by many column stores before ours. But the principle, I think, is still very important. And the fact that that what we are talking about is an entirely new set of services in the Capella environment to accommodate all of this. So there's a coordination we'll talk about in a little bit about between the OLTP side of Capella and columnar side. So I think we've covered all right, we solve for the JSON problem, and we're characterizing it as zero ETL for JSON. And I think the 2 points that you probably also are going to remind me, Ahmed, is one, this all happens at schema on read or format on read, and it all happens as the document is being streamed in by DCP from Couchbase or by our other streaming vehicles. So if a document changes, we catch that update immediately, and we store that back in the column store. So let's kind of hit on our challenge number 2 of handling multiple sources, because we know that this is Couchbase. This is not a Couchbase centric world, right? We're just a member of the larger set of operational stores out there. So how are we end up, talk a little bit, Ahmed, about the challenges that we see in multi-sourcing, and then let's get into like how we are solving for that.
Correct. So one, if you are building an analytical database, right? If I step back, what is it? You have to bring data from multiple sources, both NoSQL and SQL, right? Get that data into your store, do the cooking, and send it to different destinations, right? So that's the core of an analytical store, right? So while building columnar, we had that in mind, right? And we have seen customers,
this principle right here, right? As we're showing, yeah.
So we are cognizant of the fact that on the OLTP side or operational side, customers may have different data stores. Like, for example, they may have MongoDB in a JSON format running particular apps along with Couchbase, right? But the data within Mongo is also, has the same challenges. How do you have one system, which is columnar, to bring data from multiple NoSQL stores, including Mongo, right, as is, and then start doing your query, right? So what we have done is with columnar, we have integrated with Confluent and Amazon MSK, right? So if you have either Confluent or Mongo MSK or Amazon MSK in the environment, you can bring data as is. All you need to do is connect your Kafka cluster to the columnar, and we will ingest both batch as well as CDC data, right? And remember, you don't have to do any kind of transformation while bringing it. Yes, you have the option of just filtering some part of data and moving subset of the data to columnar. But we do the heavy lifting of parsing those different formats in different databases and then storing it in columnar format, right? And by the way, it does not have to be restricted to NoSQL only. At launch, at GA, we also support SQL databases like MySQL and PostgreSQL, right?
Right, and then, I think
so back to
we have demonstrating much of this, sort of the streaming ingestion vehicles, right? We, connecting to Mongo or connecting to other Kafka-based sources for streaming data in, if it's a third-party tool. We'll also bring in file-based formats, as you had mentioned, obviously Parquet if we're mimicking that, but other file formats as well. So
that's a great point. That's a great point. Just to add there, so using Confluent or Amazon MSK is one of the ways of getting data into columnar. But let's say you have your data in S3, right? Or let's say GCS or Azure Blob in future, right? Columnar can get that data from S3 as well, either moving that data into columnar or doing external query on that data without you having to move that data into columnar. So that is possible. And it supports all the formats. It doesn't have to be JSON. It can be JSON, it can be CSV, TSV, Parquet, Avro. We support all the formats.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about our third set, kind of issue, the analytic thing that I was talking about earlier of the application team not getting the turnaround responsiveness out of an overwhelmed BI or data warehouse team. If we're delaying, right, that causes trouble for both parts of the organization and slows down the application development. And of course, we're trying to facilitate delivery of applications quickly. So we want to put tools like Capella IQ in the hands of both of these sets of users, right? So you can use AI-powered conversations to do, like natural language coding and natural language analytics, actually.
Correct. So it's very interesting, and columnar is kind of very unique in the industry in this way, right? So Jeff, if you can go back to your previous slide, just trying to highlight the problem. So one of the issues that we have seen with customers that, okay, I am moving data from different sources to my current analytical database. I am running some complex queries, right, to get insights on that data, right, or calculating some metrics, right? How do I get them back, right? Because today, customers would use either any kind of tools, right, or some kind of custom applications. There are these reverse ETL tools to get those insights or metrics back to your OLTP store, right? But remember, one key principle in Couchbase, not only in columnar, have been that how do you not use many tools? How do you simplify your already super complex architecture, right? That has been the principle of Couchbase. So we took that principle and we said, you do not need to get any tools or have any tools to move data from your columnar to Couchbase OLTP, right? All you need to do is run a simple SQL++ query and move data or insights from columnar back to OLTP. So here is what is happening. Given that both our operational and analytical databases are under one unified platform, you first bring data from your OLTP operational stores to columnar, right? Again, you do not need any tools here to bring data from Couchbase OLTP to columnar. You even don't need Kafka that I was talking about. You bring data to columnar, you do analytics there, right? And now let's say your application needs some insights back, right? You do not need any tools. The whole idea is to use less tools and less effort. So all you do is bring that bit, write a SQL query and see that red arrow in the picture, bring that back to your OLTP. So that's the beauty of this reverse ETL, doing it natively, right? Without using any tool is huge. And this, it was not actually in our plan, Jeff. I mean, when we ran if you remember, when we ran the private preview last year, we did not think of this as a problem, right? But we spoke to many of our customers, right, and saw this as an issue, and that's why we went back to our drawing board and added that as a feature. So this came directly because we heard this feedback from our customers.
Well, yeah, and Chris, who's asking questions here, was one of those customers, and super appreciate that. We've had lots of I've had specific conversations with him about kind of the design and evolution of the original analytics service, which you mentioned earlier, and then all of the newer capabilities that Columnar can add and augment to that. But the write back thing, yes, I'm very happy that we recognized that capability as being necessary, because and I think that that's going to end up helping the delivery of analytic information, not only out to BI consumers, right, the traditional kind of analytic delivery, but also now into the next generation of modern applications, right? So and a lot of the, call it, positioning that we took on much of this was to make sure that analytic data could participate in generative AI conversations. And so, what if you needed a real-time inventory of, the old example I'm always using is the Domino's pizza example. Do I have enough dough to fulfill 1,000 orders that I'm receiving right now in a particular metropolitan area because their sports team is winning, right? That kind of analyses, you want to know what that inventory number is in real time. That's what this helps facilitate. And then you could put that to a prompt. You could put it into some other predictive algorithm. You could put it wherever you need it in the application. But yeah, we see that as being a very, very big deal here. And
Absolutely.
I think to your point earlier, and then you can put it out to other systems as well, as we're showing.
Yeah, I think Bradley has an interesting question in the chat. I was looking at the question.
Right.
So this is Bradley putting the power back to the developer, right? Putting the power back to the application developer who already owns the data and trying to create a real-time analytics like Jeff mentioned. You have the data, right? And you want to do a, let's say, real-time promotion like Jeff mentioned. For that, you want to do a real-time analytics on that data. So look at the picture. You get data from server cluster to columnar in real time, because we use something called DCP streaming, which streams the data real time. You do real-time analytics there, and then you bring it back using the red arrow, right? So it is not going after the traditional BI solutions. We do support Tableau and Power BI. You continue to use that. But all we are saying is you don't have to stand in a long queue for your centralized BI tool to do this real-time analytics. Those are not going away. We are not becoming the centralized BI tools or centralized data lake. We are making sure that we give you the agility to build those real-time analytical applications. Yeah.
Yes, and Chris is right too. There's still presentation and visualization capabilities. While our Workbench has some of that, it's not going to be nearly as rich as a regular dashboardy kind of thing like a Tableau. Let's talk a little bit about that state-of-the-art kind of principle that we approached with how we designed Columnar, right? First is the idea of separating compute from storage. You hear that all the time. We know what the benefits of it are, but how does Capella itself end up handling that?
Yeah, I think like I highlighted in the beginning, right? One key principles when we designed Columnar is that these ideas are not new. You talk about columnar storage, you talk about compute and storage separation, right? You talk about MPP or cost-based optimizers. These ideas have been there in the relational analytical world for many, many years, right? People have been doing this. Where we come in, where we add unique value with Columnar is bringing these ideas and making those applicable for a JSON first analytical world, right? no one in the industry had a columnar a format for JSON analytical data. So we took that idea, make it applicable for JSON first analytics or JSON-native analytics. Similarly, compute storage separation. This idea has already been there, but with Couchbase, if you look at our current architecture on the operational side, we do have compute and storage co-located, right? But if you are trying to create a truly analytical store, it has to be compute and storage separation. So that's why we took that idea, made it applicable for a world which is JSON first, right? So this is the compute storage separation. And again, the whole idea here is you can scale out compute and storage independently based on your need. You don't have to buy additional storage just because you need more compute. When you need more compute, you spin up more compute clusters. And importantly, when you don't need them, you just turn it off. You don't need to pay for your compute cluster when you do not see any query over the weekend, right? But during Black Friday, you expect more queries, spin up more clusters. That's all. So giving the control back to our developers, back to our users is all this about.
Right. So and other couple of quick points I want to hit on as we keep jumping around it to just keep demonstrating that it is a very, very rich design, right? Our MPP processing engine for that compute, it operates pretty much as you would expect and adds resourcing as it needs. And you can see here in our diagram, it is still operating in both familiar SQL++, which certainly our customers know, but if you know SQL, you still know how to use it. And it's still doing that parallel aggregation and then rolling everything up to your ultimate answer. So I think that you get much higher degrees of scale out of the columnar design than you would have if you were using the traditional Couchbase the operational analytics service. But still, there's some principles that were baked into the analytics service that we've carried forward. Right, including MPP. I want to hit one other, which is cost-based optimization. Right, is all of the capabilities that we've been building out for SQL++ itself in the traditional query service of Couchbase and that lives in Capella for the application, is now carried over for analytics as well. So CBO is built in. A lot of we've achieved. Been granted at least 5 patents around both how to parse JSON, how to index JSON and index JSON arrays, how to and index each individual item in an array or each different range in an array, and support CBO, support the index advisor capabilities. That all carried forward from the original analytics design, but is now again able to operate on a scale of data that we never could have touched before.
Yeah, I think the key thing to keep in mind here that we have taken the best part of our current analytics solution, which has been working, and made it better in columnar. But our traditional analytics is row-based, right? The key difference is it's a row-based solution, and then if you are doing analytics, you want a solution which is column-based, and you get the benefit of compute storage separation, you get the benefit of columnar format. So that's the big difference. But yes, Jeff is right here that everything that used to work, like MPP, CBO, cost-based optimizations, we have took them from our current feature and baked into this completely new product called columnar.
And yet Chris has a great question, which is, does columnar optimize itself based on the data set size, and so it doesn't fight itself like he's seen in the past, when you'd have like a lot of analytics service capability running, but it was unnecessary. And the answer to that is, we've resolved that kind of problem with columnar. It does kind of know its the data set that it's involved in, and of course with columnar, it does it's doing things like just querying for the columns and values that it needs as it's operating.
Yes. So if you are interested in one column, right, like creating a sum of a salary column, right, columnar will make sure that it only reads that particular column from the disk and send only that column back to your memory for calculation, right? You do not need to read all the data, right, from that. And that's the idea. That's the beauty, right? How do you only read whatever is needed for the query and bring that quickly back to your memory for calculation? And that's how we are improving the speed of your query, right? So that's the whole idea and beauty of columnar store.
Yeah, and then so moving on from that particular design, let's talk a little bit back on the support for BI tools. The cleverness here is that we are actually converting the data into a BI tool friendly format, right? A TDF file kind of thing for Tableau, and likewise for Power BI. And it's these are basically live views, right? That can change as the data itself changes, but friendly to the BI tools themselves.
Yeah, that's correct. So we convert this into something called views, and then views work as an input to your BI tools, and it takes views as input and shows those nice charts and graphs as output. So that's how it works.
And then our discussion a minute ago about writing back to the operational store, this exercise made possible through columnar, being aware of where the data comes, where it's going to go back when we push it back into the operational side. A brand new kind of capability that, as I was asserting before, this is what analytic tools typically leave out. They don't know how to do it. And so that's an important piece here for operationalizing any metric that you're developing. And then, like as Amit had mentioned earlier, right, we can push that also to an S3 bucket, your blob storage in Google and Azure. So Amit, what I want to ultimately get to is, so columnar is going to be really cool. Right, it does native JSON-native analytics with 0 ETL, so it's easy. It unifies ingestion processes for unusual data. Developers will like it. BI people will ultimately like it, and because you can do the write back, you get better features back in your applications, and that coordination between the two is dramatically simplified. But what I want to end up ultimately getting from you is, what does columnar itself look like, right? We've been talking a lot about it, but let's walk these guys through an example of what columnar might be able to do. I think I need you to share for that.
So let me share my screen. Jeff, can you still hear me okay?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do with this demo is show you the power of columnar and its 0 ETL capability. There is a separate bigger demo, which is part of the doc section that Susan pointed out in the beginning. Please take a look for the complete overview of columnar, right? But in this particular demo, I'm going to highlight one aspect of columnar, right? So what I'm going to do in this demo is I will try to move one deeply nested complex JSON data from our operational store to columnar, and notice that I am not going to create any collections which is equivalent to tables in JSON in our world, or define any schema, or create any index, or use any kind of ETL tools. Everything happens automatically. Our columnar system has the intelligence to parse the data, to store it in columnar format, and give you back the results when you query it. And I know you do not need any tool. So let's get started. So what I am showing here is if you have been a Capella customer or Couchbase customers, this is our Couchbase Capella operational. So what is operational? Operational is our online transaction processing WebTP database. So here I have, three scopes and one collection. Scope is equivalent to schema in the relational world, and collection, like I said, is the table. So if you look at this document collection called interchange, I have 2000 documents. And if you look at the document structure, you have, it's fairly nested, and I'll show you a little bit. So let's get started, right? So here is the document that I want to ingest from our operational OLTP into columnar, right? And the beauty here is I do not need to do any kind of ETL. So let's see how that works. So this document is already in my OLTP, like you see. And now I will go to columnar, right? So this is my columnar cluster. You will have the similar look and feel. So one beauty is that this columnar runs in the platform. So if you are already familiar with Capella, you do not have to spend time learning a completely new platform for doing your analytics. In fact, you can use your same existing Capella credit to run columnar. So here you can see very similar look and feel for columnar. And what I am going to do here is I am first trying to create a link between and Capella columnar cluster. Remember, these are two different products sharing a common unified plane, but the data is completely separate and isolated. Okay, so let's take a look. So first, I will click on something called create link. And as you can see, we have different options. So you could connect Couchbase server or Capella. You could connect Amazon S3. I spoke about Amazon S3. So you could get data from Amazon S3, or you can move data back to Amazon S3. So for both, you need a link. You could connect it to Amazon MSK. So you could move from RDS to Amazon MSK to columnar, or you could use your Confluent Cloud or Confluent on-prem platform, both, right? So in this case, for this particular demo, I'm going to move data from Capella, which is our managed cloud operational service, to columnar. So what I'll do is first create a link. So I'll put a link name, and then once I have that data link name, then I could go to this drop-down list and I can see all the source cluster depending on my admin. Given I am the admin in both the cases, so I could see all the source cluster. In this case, I took my source cluster as columnar test. So I have now I'm putting the names of the link, and then this link is being created. So what is happening under the hood is we are VPC peering automatically your Capella operational cluster with columnar cluster when this link is being established or created. So that's happening. You don't have to do anything else, right? We'll take care of that, and that link has been created, right? Now, once the link is created, I have to create a target collection. So I already have a source collection, right, from where I want to move that data in. Now I'm creating on the columnar side a target collection, right? So it is very similar. So I'm calling it users, and then I'm putting the source details here. And look here in the filter where statement. This is where you have the option of, okay, I don't want to bring all my 2 billion records or documents from, OS documents. So I'll not use the filtering capability here, but you have the option to get only subset of document. So I'm hitting on collections. Now what has happened? So I have a OLTP source. I have a OLAP columnar source, like target collections. I have established the link between them. Now I have to hit on connect link. So when I do connect link, the data will start flowing from Couchbase operational OLTP cluster to columnar cluster. Okay, and that's pretty much it, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So let me pause here and see what happened. I am bringing a fairly nested data from my OLTP source, in this case Couchbase, and same is true for Mongo, or let's say in future we'll do of other things, sources like Dynamo or Cassandra. I am not creating any index columnar side, and of course I'm not using any kind of ETL tools to basically get them. All I did is connect it with the source, right? Create a bucket, and that's pretty much it, right? Now I have the data already, and this is all real time, not edited, real time video. So it took me like 1 minute 55 or 50 seconds to do everything together, including the movement of data. Now, just to show you, Jeff spoke about the IQ. So just to show you the power of this, what I will do, I will use a simple English language to see if the data has moving. So I'll use our, which will take my English prompt, convert it to a SQL, and then run it. So let's see how it works. So I go to the IQ tab. I'm putting here. So I'm just saying, like, count the total number of documents in the user collection. So it will show me query. So it took the English text, turned it into IQ. So in the backend today, we are using OpenAI API, but we have plans to support the other LLM models as well. And you could run the query here. You could copy it into our query workbench. And Jeff mentioned this earlier, you will also have some basic charting capability in the product itself. So you can create charts using LLM in the backend with the power of IQ. So in this case, I am going to run it from here, and I can see 2000 documents. So all the 2000 documents that was there into my OLTP flew into my columnar without I doing any kind of ETL or spending on tuning. Because remember, columnar is zero ETL, start querying immediately without thinking of schema, right? We do not believe in that. We will take care of the doing the indexing. We'll take care of your columnizing the data, and that's the power of columnar and zero ETL. Back to you, Jeff.
Awesome. Thanks, Amit. That was really good sort of explanation of all of that particular process, and the fact that when we do it in real time, right, it really did only take 2.5 minutes to do. Anyway, so if you want to look at columnar and check it out, it is available now inside of Couchbase Capella instances. You can see it in it's all turned on and operational. Typically, right now it runs in AWS, so it's exclusive to that for about the next 120 days or so, and then it will expand to GCP, and we'll bring out Azure subsequently after that. So it's ultimately a really good kind of situation, as we've been talking in the chat, for handling large amounts of operational data, for helping you subset and segment the operational data and do analytics on that. We are zeroing it in on focusing on JSON oriented data itself. So I'm not running around claiming that we're the next great data warehouse or data fabric, but talk to us in a year or two, and we'll keep expanding it. So we really appreciate everybody's attention here today. We'll take a couple of questions if you've got them in the chat while we've still got about 5 minutes or so for to round out the hour. But Amit, great job joining me today in terms of really giving the background for what the intentions of Columnar were, and overall handling everything that we've just discussed. So our question, we've got Bill. We didn't cover our security permissioning mechanisms in Columnar. Remember, he's from Carbine,
Yeah.
right? It's his analytic environment.
Yes, I think we did not. Yeah, we did not go into the details, but like I said, you have the similar type of RBAC permissions, granular RBAC permissions to control who can access columnar. Given that it is part of the unified control plane, we have the same way of managing columnar also, and you will have all the RBAC needed both on the cloud side as well as server side for managing columnar. But if you have specific questions, please refer to our documentation on our website or reach out to us. Happy to answer any specific questions, but it supports all the RBAC capabilities that you have.
So let's also push out our second poll just to see what other systems might want to get used inside of alongside or within Columnar. I think that will be another interesting way for us to close ourselves out. Of course, it's going to be Couchbase data, but Postgres I like a lot. In our last poll, we had it was about looks like 6 or 7 to 1 in terms of facing issues with analyzing JSON. So the majority of respondents said yes to analyzing JSON. This is kind of reinforcing that, right? If you want to be using MongoDB's JSON or BSON, we can do that. You want to certainly operate within Couchbase, but also other systems, whether it's Dynamo, whether it's Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, etc. And we're actually getting better and better about offering conversion utilities for all of these different data sources. We actually have our integrations team has recently released a number of different tools, like a Mongo migration tool, a Dynamo migration tool. We've always had a MySQL and Postgres migration tool. So these are all things that we can steer you guys to in our Couchbase Labs repository on GitHub. Is a good place to start there. And also, if you or any of your Couchbase-oriented constituents, you want to participate in our community, we will be sponsoring a hackathon coming up in a couple of weeks to help drive interest in the free tier of Capella, which is now available. So a lot of different ways to get your hands on Columnar here, and to explore all the rest of the great things that we've been working on, all of the AI, the Gen AI vector search capabilities as well, all coming up. Now, Amit, I got a really good question to close out. What do you think about the most recent MongoDB announcements about some of the things that they've been deprecating? Now, we've put out a big blog about deprecating Realm, but there's other tools, aren't there?
Absolutely, right. So they also deprecated their data lake feature, right? And see, if you have one feature, like I have a lot of respect for MongoDB, because they are a competition, but you cannot have one feature, to be one product, right? We do support that as one of our features, but we also do much more, right? We, like I talked about, supporting S3, right? So if you have your data in S3, you could get that into columnar, or you can analyze that without also moving that back, right? So, and columnar is much more than just having that one feature. So yes, all of you who have unfortunately suffered because of that, please give columnar a try.
Keep
And
columnar in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amit, thank you so much for working with me today. This is really fun. Columnar is a great product, and I'm very excited about its introduction into the market. Suzanne,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thank you
both. Yeah, thank you both so much. This is great. Really appreciate the audience to just bringing in all the questions and comments and polls. So super interactive session. We will send out the on-demand version of this. If there's anything you want to review, you should be receiving that email tomorrow, and then you'll have access to the docs again if you want to take a look at the deck. If you want to take a look at the full columnar overview video that we have full length, or if you want to check out the webinar next month, the NoSQL Showdown, Couchbase versus MongoDB. We would love to see you there. And with that, I bid you farewell. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks a bunch, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.